Hello, FSN Tune for students. Today, we'll be talking about how to write a good lab report and lab notebook. Lab report is one of the most important ways that you communicate and convey your experimental results and findings with the scientific community. As this will be your first time writing a formal lab report in food science, I will cover some basic introduction of a lab report with an example. To better help you write a standardized lab report, I have uploaded a template in the Canvas. You may directly use the template to compose your report. Normally, a lab report includes a title page, introduction, materials and methods, results and discussion, conclusions, and references. First one is the title page. Title page is straightforward, where you can put the title of your lab, your name, your section number. It's 03 for the in-person section and 04 for the virtual section, as well as the date. The title page will be graded for 5% of the total score. And here is the example of the title page. Okay. Now let's talk about the introduction. The introduction part is to give the readers some basic information about why you want to do the lab. You can write a brief introduction of the background, the significance and the rationale, and what are you planning to do briefly. Here is the example of writing an introduction. Oh. So you may start with a brief introduction about what is blanching, why blanching is needed to process vegetables, and maybe other information you want to put there. As long as you give the basic information in the introduction, you will receive the full score. And the next one is the materials and the methods. Materials and the methods need to include very detailed information like the exact temperature, time, or concentration of your treatment so that the readers can repeat your results. This section should be written in past tense because everything that you are writing is already completed. If you fail to use the past tense, you will lose points. The materials and the methods part also counts for 15% of the total score. And here's an example of materials and the methods. For the first lab, you might write the green bean was obtained from, we'll give you the information, okay? So Just make sure everything is in past tense. Results and discussion part is the most important part of the lab report. For this part of writing, I would suggest you to the first thing to do is to make tables and figures as a summary of experimental results. Make sure that you provide a caption for each table and figure. Do not use abbreviations so that the tables and figures are self-explanatory. Once you put all the figures and tables in the results and discussion part, you will have an idea how to write. You can give an interpretation of each figure or table to write a narrative finding, and then try to discuss whether the results is meaningful or its comparison to other people's finding. If you think the data is way off, you can give a few reasonable guesses in terms of how it happened. Please be careful about the tense to use. Generally, you use past tense, but there are some exemptions. Present tense is used for established scientific knowledge or when you're extracting information from tables and figures. Other than that, you use past tense for discussion. The results and discussion accounts for 40% of the total score. You may spend more time in this section. Here, I want to show you the example of the results and discussion. For example, the first thing you do is make a table with the treatment and your results. And then you can write table 1, what are the results included? And then we'll discuss what is the finding by comparing to previous work. If you quote a previous finding, you will need to cite it. You'll put a number here as an in-text citation. I will talk about the reference in the later section. All right, that's all about the results and discussion. In the conclusion part, you may start with summarizing what are the findings from the study. And then you will comment on their implications. There are always limitations with the experiment, so you may list them out as well. Before you finish, please make sure that you suggest the future work that could be done. For the references, please try to find information from Google Scholar instead of Wikipedia. The information is more accurate from those scientific publications than public media. For the format, you are suggested to use APA format. Here is an easy way to cite it. Go to Google Scholar and type in search the article there you're interested. Once you find the article, you can click this button and select. There are 5 formats available, and what you do is just copy and paste the format, back into wherever you want to use it. Okay. So that's all about the lab report. Let's now talk about lab notebook. Lab notebook is to help us record the data and the lab procedures. They have to be organized very well and kept well for academic integrity purposes. If you go to grad school, your lab book will be kept in the research group even after your graduation. If you work for the industry, keeping a good record of experiment is also required. So I hope this course can help you cultivate a good habit in recording experimental procedure and the data. In the lab report, please make sure you have this information. First, title and the date. And then, please write a brief introduction of this lab. It doesn't have to be very long, but just to give some basic idea. Then you will need to write very detailed procedures where you did step by step. And finally, please generate a table to record the data. As long as you have all this information, you'll get the full score for the lab notebook. For each lab, you will need to scan the lab notebook for submission. So that's all about the guidelines in lab report writing and the lab notebook keeping. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you.